Can you talk to me about how this unfolded? I mean, I know that this must have been really scary because of the health issues that you have, but can you tell us about how you even learned you were going to be arrested?
Actually, what happened is even more bizarre. I actually was probably the mildest speaker at that meeting. Um, and basically, my arrest proves that I'm on a list. You know, they just go through the list rather than through any evidence. Um, After we all spoke, Sam explained to everyone at the meeting that the meeting was over. Um, no one should move. We all go to the tube together. We don't talk to the police. We don't talk to the Zionists that were there. Um, we just look after each other until we're on the tube and safe. Um, People try to do that, but before we actually moved, 20 police arrived from nowhere and with violence that I have never seen in London. This is kind of Israeli violence. And I learned from one of the policemen later on when we grew almost friendly in the long hours I had to wait in a car park with them. Um, I learned that they know Israel very well. Obviously, they were trained there, and part of the training, he didn't say that he had trained there, but you know what else was he doing there? He wasn't on the beach. Went to visit the Holocaust Museum, etc. So you can imagine that these people are getting both physical training, ideological training, brainwashing in Israel, and then they are sent to arrest people like us. So they moved in a both men and women, obviously very well trained with violence, and arrested a boy of 16 or 17 whose name I still do not know. And this is a worrying aspect of all this, because people that we don't know, we can't even contact. Anyway, they hit him. It transpired later on that he had a broken leg before they attacked him. And he was shouting and trying to show to them that he's got a broken leg, but they kind of were more interested in breaking his other legs, it seems. And they brought him to the ground with enormous violence, which then they actually enacted against some old ladies. One of them, Yael Khan, my age, I think, was also thrown to the ground. And, they used the boots rather well. I mean, I say this with alarm because I haven't seen this kind of violence in Britain before. And it seems that since the coming to power of Sir Keir, the police have been given different instructions. The arrests started with him coming to power.
So
So,
worse under Labor than under Tories?
yeah, not more. I mean, the Tories didn't arrest us. So, the police is the same police, of course. It just got new instructions, it seems. So this is worrying in itself. And I was trying to film what they are doing to people who are trying to actually run away. And while I was doing this, somebody grabbed me from behind and said to me, "Come with us." And I looked back, and there were two police people, a man and a woman. And I said, "What are you doing? Why are you holding me?" And they said, "We are arresting you. You'll have to come back out of the demonstration." People were very worried about this and tried to stop them, not by force, of course. And one of the doctors that I know, Jonathan Flaxman, who is um, part of the organizing body, said to them, listen, this gentleman is 79 and he is a cancer patient and also has a very difficult heart condition. It's called AF. You probably don't know what it is, but I'm saying to you that what you're doing is very dangerous. So I think you should let him go. And they didn't even react to this. It didn't make the slightest difference. And in the end, they said to me, "Are you coming, or are we going to um, tie your hands?" And I thought I better come rather than make a case of resisting. And I said to
So
him,
they were going to handcuff you?
"Yeah, sure."
That was your option?
Well, they normally handcuff people, and I said, "You don't need to handcuff me because I'm not going to run, and I'm unable to run. So, I mean, just be reasonable." And I said, "What are you stopping me on? Why are you arresting me?" And he said, "You just spoke at the demo now, and there was hate speech." I said, "What hate speech?" I didn't, yeah, I mean, nobody in this demo used hate speech. What are you talking about? We're Jews speaking about something that we know very well about. And he went and had a lot of phone calls while other people, stood guard over me, and people around us filmed the whole thing and tried to get me out. And he then came back and he said, "We're arresting you under the Terror Act 2000," which is like saying, "I'm arresting you for, smirking at me," and then changing it to, "I'm arresting you for murder." Because the Terror Act, they can have you in for 14 years. So I said, what is this, a joke? You telling me I'm a terrorist? And he said, all will be explained in the station, which actually is not right because he should tell me what he's arresting me for. But, what can you do?
Right.
Um, and it took about between 2.5 to 3 hours until I was actually arrested officially at the station because they held me in a car park for about 2 hours in the chill.
What was their excuse
Um,
for that?
because we were talking all the time, and these policemen were quite ashamed um, of their duty to arrest me. Um, One of them said to me, "Look, there's lots of conversation going on with um, the command, and your arrest is coming from on high." These are the words he used. And we're trying to see if we can find what he called alternative solutions, which meant sending me home. Um, I understood his difficulty in speaking more clearly, but I understood exactly what he meant, and he made sure that I understood. Um, and during all this, I heard the story about being in Israel and the Holocaust Museum. I said to them, "You will not break me because, my father was in Nazi concentration camps and they didn't break him. So you definitely will not break me." So then he told me, "Yeah, it's very interesting. I was in the Holocaust Museum in Israel. Very interesting, and so on." Now, what the function of this was, I'm not sure, but probably to befriend or to kind of have him on my side. I
And he
didn't.
meant Vad Yashem?
Yeah, he didn't remember the name, but he
Mm,
said the Holocaust Museum in
right.
Israel. So these conversations took place, and we waited and waited and waited. I was offered a glass of water, and that was it. It was quite cold, unpleasant, but nothing that you can't live through. And in the end, they brought me in, and the sergeant was very jolly, and he said, we are arresting him, blah, blah. And I said, why are you arresting me? I heard that. Why are you arresting me? For what? What have I done? And he said, arresting officer, please provide your, yeah. So the arresting officer takes out of, no, the arresting officer receives from his colleague a piece of paper that small, believe me. Um, and on that piece of paper, there are 3 words which he hasn't written, so he doesn't know how to read it. So he hands it back to the woman who gave it to him, and she has a problem reading it, so she hasn't written it. And in the end, they, with combined effort, read the word Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. Of course, they don't say it correctly. Um, Houthis, I think it came out. Anyway, I said, yeah, I heard about those organizations. So I did mention them, yeah. Um, are you going to arrest people in the BBC and Channel 4 when they say Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis? And he said, it is um, it is against the terror legislation to support prescribed organizations. So I said, well, you prove to me that I supported those organizations, because I don't. Just prove that I said that. And he said, there will be an investigation. Okay, take him to the cell. And they bring me to a cell, which is, they open the door and I don't see anything because there's no light in the cell. This is, I don't know what time, about probably 7:30 in the evening, 8. And of course, there are no windows or anything. These are police cells. And I say, I can't see, I'm not walking in there. And the guy says to me, if I switch the light on, you can't switch it off. It'll be on the whole night. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going in there if there is no light. And then he switches the light on from outside, of course. And I see that there is a totally empty cell, of course. On the floor, there is something plastic to lie on. The cell is dirty. And in one corner, there is a toilet. There's no toilet paper and there's no tap whatsoever. So I said, well, how can I use the toilet without those luxuries of running water and a, a piece of soap? And he said, we'll find out, and closes the door. And then, of course, they come and look at you through the tiny bit of, it's not a window, it's so they look at you every hour. um, and they do it by lifting the flap, saying bye, lowering it down. And this is supposed to be a check. Now, that's your chance to say something, because otherwise, and I said, at the second attempt, I was waiting at the door. And when they did that, I said, I need to get my medications for the evening. They kept me without the medications until 1 o'clock in the morning, when I started complaining more, clearly, because I didn't like that. This was a punishment that's not written anywhere.
Can you explain what they did with the medication? I just think it's
They
important for
took
people to
everything
see.
from me. I didn't have the medication on me because I don't go to demonstrations with the medication. I take them at home
For the cancer or for the AFib?
for the AF. These are heart medications, and I said to them, "You can't keep me without my medications here. It's illegal." So they sent 2 policemen to take the medications from Josefa at home. I insisted that I want to speak to Josefa before the police comes there and tell her that I'm arrested, and they didn't allow me that one phone call for hours. in the end, they allowed me to speak to her just before the police arrived. Otherwise, God knows what she would have thought.
Right.
And
I mean, she would have just opened the door to police without having any warning.
exactly. Now, basically, they had the medications quite a short time after I was in the station, but they wouldn't give it to me. And the claim was that the medication has to be given to me by a nurse, um, and the nurse is busy. I don't know with what. I saw the nurse before I was chucked in the cell, and she was busy coating her fingernails. So, um, it went on this like until 1 o'clock in the morning, because they said to me, "When do you need to take the medication?" I said between 8 and 9. So they disregarded this, and at about 12 o'clock, I became vocal, and I said, "I need to take my medications. This is, I don't need to explain to you why." And by 1 o'clock, I was allowed to take the medication. She wouldn't give me the pack, but she would only give me one pill at a time. I mean, the whole thing is a show. It's
How did
nonsensical.
how did Yosefa react when you called her?
Well, Josefa was quite shocked, but she knew, and we did discuss this, and she knew that my profile is such that they're likely to try that on me as well. And because I'm ill and elderly, they might think that'll be enough to silence me. So we agreed that yeah, okay, what we need is a solicitor, and we got in touch with a solicitor, and he agreed to come when necessary. So when she phoned him, um, he agreed to come immediately, but they didn't answer his phone calls for 3 hours. So in the end, he sent them a message, I don't know how, and they ended up phoning him. And so I was invited for an interview at 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't remember the exact hour. And when I sat down, and they give you about a few minutes with the solicitor to write your statement, he said to me, before we start, I showed it to the lady that is the lead investigator. I showed her the accusations and said to her, "What's in it? I don't see anything here." And she said, "Neither do I." So okay, so we don't need to worry, he said, because they're going to let you go because there's nothing in it. But they'll give you a hard time. And if you start answering all the questions, we'll be here until kingdom come. And the one thing you don't want to indicate is that you're tired and weak, because then they will keep you for much longer. So I did what he advised and said no comment when there was really no reason to answer. But then I got halfway through so irate. I said, the statement I read you, which is a page and a half with great detail about myself and my actions, and you can check that in anything that I have written, anything that I have said. Um, I don't feel that I need to answer those nonsense questions. But when you go that far and ask me for the third time a question that is slightly different, but basically it's the same question, I have to say to you, this is total nonsense. Um, I don't like the way this is going. And of course, they said to me, we're just only doing our job. We have a list of questions, and we're going to ask them whatever you say. So on it went. I don't know how long it went, but it went for a long time. And in the end, they said, we're not going to charge you. We're going to refer it to the CPS and they will decide. And then there was this argument about the phone, and we agreed to part as friends, and I got my phone.
And so this is how they treat someone who's 79, has cancer, a heart condition, is the son of Holocaust survivors, is Israeli Jewish. I
Sure.
mean, how they would treat a Palestinian.
You can just imagine. Yeah, you can just imagine what a Palestinian will have to face when they are brought in under the Terror Act.
And they're not, like, say, high profile, like, you have a high following, like, you as you've alluded to, and you're part of these organizations, and yeah, I mean, it's just what they did to you is horrible, so I can't
Well,
even imagine.
the Palestinians probably will have to agree to the lawyer that they provide from the police station,
Right.
which is basically a stooge. And God knows what they will have to face. They will not be sent home. They will not be given their phone. Um, Even what they do to the Palestinians is not Gaza. But actually, this is not Britain.
Right.
That's my point. This is not a democracy when the terror law is used for purposes of punishing people by arresting them. This is abuse of the police. This is abuse of the law. This is abuse of our rights. And it undermines the rule of law, not just in Britain, but everywhere, because now this has become the standard way that Americans, European, Australian, um, Canadian, in other words, the West is dealing with what they consider enemies of Israel. You know, supporters of Palestinian rights are enemies of Israel or critics of Israel, whatever way you want to word it. I'm definitely not a friend of Israel. Um, I'm criticizing Israel for 55 years, if I remember correctly, for its inhuman behavior, and I will continue to do so. This is what they are doing. This is undermining um, the rights of people in the West, not just in Palestine. Forget about their support for Palestine. You know, we understand that will break any law in order to support Israel in Gaza, which of course is supporting genocide, which itself is, against the Genocide Convention. So Keir Starmer, I hope, will find himself in the ICC um, together with Netanyahu. I doubt very much that either of them will be there because, justice is not happening on this earth, but only in heaven. But this is what they're doing. They are actually undermining international law and the local law in their criminal support of criminal Israel.